So yeah, we're gonna observe the instinct stackings today so people can get an idea of like typing, like the last one. We did, I'll put like a link or something for the last observable typing video that we did so people know what we're referring to. But for everyone else that's paying attention, this is another part in this kind of series of seeing the types just in the wild or in action. What are they doing, why, and how you can kind of either see it in yourself or other people. Okay, in the last video, I talked about like the body pretty much being a part of the personality. So we can think of it as like our body as its fleshy thing, nervous system, is having some kind of say, rather unconsciously, of course, but is kind of moving us towards what we choose to do in every moment, which is why it is like majorly unconscious, because if we were conscious of that all the time, that would like drive us nuts. But so the instincts are in the body and they are kind of influencing the body's behavior. So they are an expression of an innate biological factor. We can see it in animals. We can track how instincts have shaped and adapted for overall species cooperation and survival success. In the Enneagram, there are 3, which is self-preservation, social, and sexual. And then you can have kind of a combination of those. Everyone has these instincts. It's just priority. Things take priority. And I think it's helpful, in looking at them in animals, also just kind of considering the instincts as their own entities, kind of having a higher agenda and a naturally forward-moving component to them. So like when we see self-preservation, of course, being like the most successful instinctual mechanism, like that's, a lot of people are going to be self-pres because instinctually, biologically, evolutionary wise, it makes the most sense to have self-preservation for the instinct survival success, or the species survival success. So in humans, this is where, in this theory, instinctual positioning forms kind of a dominant, a secondary, and a blind spot. So they're all happening at once. It's just like what we're putting into priority is very different in most people. And I think it's essentially, if we think of it being in the body and a part of the personality, it's like we are kind of reacting to certain stimuli, and that, your personality's understanding and control of that stimuli is what makes something more dominant or take more priority. So it's kind of confusing this instinct for myself, who I am, my understanding of myself, my understanding of everyone else. It's this kind of narrow framework that everyone's sort of boxing themselves in based on like, I need this stimuli to be met. I need this to be reacted to, or I need this to be in my control or like in my field of vision. And then the other 2 instincts are kind of like vague, sometimes demonized, sometimes completely not even understood, not nuanced at all. And so this kind of creates like a cyclic behavior that the instincts are relying on each other, but they're using each other in different means and ways based on what's taking priority. So they're all occurring at once, and you can see them all occurring at once in a person. It's just, like what's actually at a higher stake in this person's understanding of their personality and what they're trying to get versus, what's kind of not as important, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would say that just like you talked about with we talked about with the types, it seems like a new idea to say that the types are physical realities in people's bodies, their stances. But with the instinct, that's much more directly a body physical reaction. Like we're having instinctual responses all the time, and which sometimes makes it difficult to talk about in terms of observing it, because so much of it is pre-verbal and non-verbal. It's not stuff that you can articulate, but you can feel it, like a certain way that someone's looking or holding their body closed, open, or looking to provoke a certain kind of reaction. So that's one thing that's interesting about the instincts, is it is the animal reality more so than...
And like acknowledging the animal reality in them is part of us as humans trying to like figure where we're unconscious about it. Because not only are we holding the animal instinct, which a lot of us try to deny, but we're also holding this kind of psychological component as well. That they're not just we're not completely unconscious of them. They still have like a lot wrapped up in them psychologically that is part of the movement that we have towards our dominant instinct, or keeping the blind spot blind, like that kind of thing. Quickly going through this, so like instinctual and personality expressions, I think it's kind of helpful to even look at the instincts as like an object relational sort of thing. Like we are using our instincts as some form of regulation and therefore developing like a fixed pattern of behavior. So the objects, which include people, become a means to an end. So essentially, like a social type's going to use people
Yeah.
to get a need met, and a sexual type's going to use people to get a needs met. Like we're kind of compartmentalizing this object, whatever it may be, as like, this is what's going to meet my need. And it's very unconscious, but like that's what's influencing our behavior and the way that we create our life, like the options we choose every day.
Yeah.
That gets at this idea of the self-pres social animals realm in the Bhava Chakra, correlating to the instincts in general, and sort of ruling the instincts because it's the animal realm, and self-pres social is the commodifier, the boxing things we're making deals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and so when we're kind of like boxing these things up, putting them into kind of a compartmentalized space, it shows more of like the psychological side of the instincts that we get wrapped up in, which is kind of the parental dynamics, and versus individuality, which would be not relating to an object, but actually having that instinct express itself creatively without a tie to some kind of like object meeting my needs, but rather, like an individual expression of that instinct. So self-preservation, just these are kind of simple things. Of course, it's more nuanced, but just to get ideas of then what people are doing in the videos we'll watch. But self-preservation are kind of objects of self-fulfillment. So I have skills, growth, a sense of permanence, and a lifestyle satisfaction. Social are objects of personhood. So you're communicating self, you're paying attention to your significance, social acknowledgement, personality traits and qualities. And then sexual is more objects of desire. So this creates polarities, attraction and repulsion, sexual display, a courtship choice, and competition. So, I mean, this is not the video to get into like how to bring them out of the fixed patterns, because we're going to watch them in their fixed patterns. But I mean, just like I said with the last video, like working on something like this could be its own whole thing, but because of it being in the body, it takes time, it takes constantly readjustments, nuanced understanding of the instincts and how they're operating inside of yourself and how it's being expressed outwardly. And I think through art and creativity, because that is something unique to humans, that we kind of have this ability to access liminal spaces to understand ourselves, and that can kind of break certain patterns as well. So I just threw that in there.
Well, here's a maybe non sequitur, but part of the hell of being a human being is that we are complex psychologically and emotionally, and we think in words and so forth. And what we revere with animals is that they're just subsumed into their instincts and doing them without all of the chatter and all the complexity. And that's part of why we, whatever, revere them or admire animals. But we're combining, all of this, we've got animal instincts and we're doing all this complicated stuff with them. That's part of the yeah.
And to add to that, it's to talk about instincts is difficult, more so than type, because I think what's been helpful in the way that we've approached it is that we've been able to sort of get at it at an angle of using aesthetics and using because it's almost like a snapshot of what that instinct is doing, and you're able to have an instinctual reaction to instincts when it's seen in art. But because we can describe the instincts all day, and people can cognitively think that, well, I'm just doing fine. Like, I think I've got all three instincts pretty balanced. But you're having instinctual responses all day, which informs like what feels good, what feels comfortable, how you orient to other people, and what you're looking for from other people or objects. And you don't even know what that is, but you're doing it all the time. And so like stuff like the collage exercise, people are like, wow, why would someone make something like this that feels is oriented completely differently to the same images or the same way of being? And so that's what gets slippery about talking about instincts, is that it is instinctual. It's not a verbal cognitive thing that's happening.
Yeah, and I think too that I mean, I love work from Jung, and he, I think, out of a lot of people, talked about instincts in such an interesting way, because it is like, I mean, lots of psychoanalysts or whatever understand collectively that the instincts are incredibly unconscious in our culture, and our, mankind's ability to have an intellect, and almost that intellect take precedence and just like priority in our culture, people forget and are very detached from their instinctual nature. And so I think too that's why it's like, oh yeah, it's interesting to see to gather like these ideas and concepts and intellectualize the instincts, but what they're doing like on the ground, like you're saying, is just like, no, it's like it's animal, you have to understand too, like where you are at on the animal level from when you wake up until you go to sleep, in order to understand like just kind of how unconscious and yet like, all this intellectualizing thrown on top of it is. So
well, I think one thing I wanted to say was just the nested quality of the stacking. I think one thing we've realized is, you have all three, but there's a way that you want to do your dominant instinct so much all the time that when you do your secondary, you're still doing it through the lens of your dominant instinct. And even your blind spot, you're still wanting to do it through the lens of your dominant instinct. So it's like you're still wanting to do your dominant instinct even when you're doing the other ones.
Yes. Yeah, and that's even like with the last video I talked about, that kind of like the field of vision that's happening in your, like what your body's trying to like hook up to in the nervous system level, that it's just like here in front of you is your dominant instinct, and it's getting blurred with the thing behind it, which is getting just vaguely blurred with the blind spot. So it's just constantly, like trying to see it rather than actually kind of like being or inhabiting the space fully without the influences of the others.
That's one way to think of types in general, and full typology, someone's full typology, their instincts, the stacking and their trifix and all of it is it's also a complex filtering system. What gets in and what you're conscious of and pay attention to.
I've thought of it sometimes like the trifix order, the instinct order, the zones, whatever, because there's all these layers. It's like we all kind of have everything. We have one of each center, but it's like like they're all happening at the same time, but not necessarily like simultaneously, but like a very fast oscillation. But that dial is like imbalanced, where it keeps flying back to whatever the one that you want, and maybe it's like, oh, it's going to the second one, and then it goes back, it's like like one of those phone dials or something, and you're like, I'm getting to that last number, and it just goes right back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So I think, we can talk about them independently. And I tried, like the last time when I broke up like body, heart, head, center, like what are they doing? Some quick impressions. I'm sure everyone has different ones. But for me, self-preservation, I feel a sense of containing. They're preoccupied with their self and their inner experience and energy. They're typically communicating about objects in space, including their self, and a linear understanding. And things out there are used for self-fulfillment. So this is where, yeah, social becomes, how is it impacting me energetically? How is it fulfilling the things that I want? And even sexual being used for the same way. So I was trying to kind of keep in mind both self-pres social and self-pres sexual. How are they doing just self-preservation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's different ways of self-regulating, because there's some types, maybe withdrawn types, that may not relate to sort of like a physical object orientation, but they're doing self-pres with non-physical items. Like maybe there's a favorite show that I watch that I keep watching over and over again because it grounds me. So like all the self-pres types are looking for ways that they can ground themselves to contain a certain kind of like I don't know, just a grounding of some sort, and they can do that with the show, or they can do that with something that's not physical.
Well, a thing like a show is, when you think of self-pres attachment types, a show can feel like home, so they're looking for that feeling of home.
Homeness, yeah.
Home. Yeah.
It's like self-pres is like a really old car that has a lot of problems, and so you can get in and constantly be like, where's my gas, where's my thing? You check it every day, you open up the hood, and you can't drive, and you're constantly, even as you're driving, you're like, oh, you're that listening. Light went on, what do I do with it? Blah, blah, whatever. Or if you're self-pres blind is kind of just like, does it move? Okay.
When I was younger and had a shitty car, a couple of shitty cars, I was constantly listening for the next thing.
That's it.
That was
yeah, because you have to.
Just listening way too much.
Yeah,
and there'll be self-pres types who are really oriented towards people and say, maybe I'm a social type because I like people so much, but the way they're oriented towards people is like they're looking for home. Like sometimes people look at romantic relationships in that way of like, I'm looking for my person, someone I can go do things with every day, or just that sense that this person is a comfortable place to come back to. That's self-pres.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think too, it's interesting that to consider this as self-pres middle too. There is some way that self-pres middle is kind of doing this, just through their dominant instinct. They still have these on the radar, just not as nuanced or filling up their time, energy, blah blah blah.
Again, it's going to be that phone dial thing where it's like, hey, we really have to do self-pres, but when you pull that, what a stupid archaic metaphor, but like, what I'm talking, like, this, because you have to pull, and the farther away you go, it's like a spring loaded, so you're just like, I can hold here, but like the second I lift my finger, it's going to fly back to its normal place, and that's where it wants to be. So when you use your second one, there's a strain, and when you use the last one, there's even more of a strain.
Right.
Thinking also like social self-pres and the phrase breaking bread with someone. I mean, it might sound like self-pres, Dom, but it's about the thing that we are doing, and the meal is secondary, and that it's about that connection.
Yeah. And social self-pres symbolism, the bread is an icon.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of social, some ideas I have for social are an awareness of collective recognition. Thank you. And tried to make it all social dominant relevant.
Yeah.
And bring in the gay community.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Of course.
Why not?
So then I also have communication / identity as an art. So it's, and this is what, like, there's so many people who have social that relate to, like, vaguely termed sexual things, the one-on-one, but also just, like, the juicy parts of connection. And there's a way that social really sees its identity as an art and its way of communicating as an art. And so it's, the thing that's different from sexual is that it's recognizing itself, like its interesting persona, its performance, but it's still based on a collective understanding of something, like a collective term, a collective role, or something like that. Like that's still in the awareness, and that's what it's like playing as,
I was just thinking, like, there's always this masculine, feminine, neutral, or positive, negative, neutral pole in the law of three of the Enneagram. And you kind of have self-pres and social, and then sexual being that. Because, like, self-pres is about me and my dashboard. And social is all people. anything people, anything. You saying hello is social, anything. So when you, and of course those two things work in tandem, but when you take those two things and like swirl them together, like you get sexual. It's like my body needs your body, and now we're smushing them together and creating a new body or a new thing, right? Yeah. But social is like, when we're talking about just identity, anything people, identity, whatever related is social. So there's no way, like when we talk about the instincts, we're talking about them here isolated, but they're never isolated, right? Yeah. We're always using social to help self-pres. You have to. But what it is in itself is like, in itself is isolated, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and that I think too, it's even like this is being a concern. Like social is a concern even when you're not with people. Like again, this is, you know, you could wake up during the day and literally spend your whole day without being with anyone, and yet you're still orienting yourself towards social collective understandings of both yourself and whatever is happening in your life.
Yeah, one thing I'd say about that is way back when I was first learning the instincts a little more as they actually are, is I had the sense that people with social first or second are bringing, there's a way that other people are there in a conversation with just two people that's very private. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know. There's a sense of others on the horizon all the time. And depending on how, like, their proximity, like my example about being in the elevator, when I'm in the elevator, I'm thinking about other people. And then when somebody else actually comes in the elevator, now I'm thinking about that person because they're physically close to me. And also when I'm talking to them, I haven't forgotten about all the other people that I'm thinking about or whatever, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, to me, the social types feel like there's always an awareness that other people are aware of me.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy to say, right? But like I don't have that, or at least it's pushed back, far back somewhere, where it's like they're always aware that other people are going to be aware of this at some point.
Or what if this conversation that's super intimate, private, and revealing got out to everyone?
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, we can cut this out if we want, but that social gets applied to everything. It gets applied to sexual. I think socials are more likely to have kinks and fantasies where other people are watching or involved, or the idea of a threesome's always on the horizon. There's always an extra. There's always extra. There's people are looking at us. They're labeling what kind of sex we're having. Like it's just always like, what are other people, you know? And it's not necessarily in the attachment way of like having that like fill you, but it's a sense of awareness of what you're doing in relation to other human beings.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when I think of it quite simply, which is why I don't think there are many social dominant types. Like, I live in a farm country, and there's almost
everyone's self-pres. Yeah, in the typology
so,
community, there's a lot of socials.
Yes,
but if you go outside, it is probably like 80% self-pres social.
Right, and
probably,
and that's why I think, because again, zooming out, looking at that, like the evolutionary, what instincts are really used for in propelling the culture, moving it forward. Like, social is not really that useful because I wake up and I need my nerve. Yeah, like I wake up and I need my nervous system to be met by social things is kind of like, that's not a great way to like wake up. I need other people to like, even if it's just in my head, like to do something and make me understand something about myself or the world, you know?
Yeah.
Well, but if you're in, like, it's partly because of the nature of our civilization. You know, if it was an era when there were, you know, open, I don't know, community tribes or whatever, and people lived, you know, everybody was sharing everything, then you actually could just walk out of your teepee and start talking with grandma and
grandma. Yeah, but I mean, it's also, you can't do, social is secondary. You can't do social if you're dead. Right? Like, so it's like kind of focusing on something that but you know what I mean, like you're focusing, self-pres is keeping you alive, so you're focusing on something that it's the same way that like we need 8s, well, I guess that's debatable, but if we need 8s We don't need force, that's for sure. But if we do need them,
there is going to be a debate coming soon.
We need them in small numbers, right? Like we do need them. We sort of need every type, but they absolutely cannot be en masse. That's not useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. And so thinking about this, kind of like I'm waking up and I'm needing other people to just like do something with my nervous system to feel regulated. It's essentially trying to get the other to understand, validate, identify. And that doesn't mean understand, like I'm trying to divorce that from attachment language, but understand as in like, okay, you see this, you see what I'm trying to make myself. It's kind of like, not quite image, but maybe a bit more image language here. Because of social sort of overlapping that center in a way, but
it's about awareness, it's about connection, but it's not saying anything about what that connection is. It could be like, God, I'm so aware of how I hate every single person in this room.
Exactly.
Kristen, I'm thinking maybe Joseph and Emeka would be open to having a daily thing where when you wake up, you start
that's
you talk
exactly
with them.
what we need.
Yeah. So
Morning conversations with Kristen is exactly.
David, I'm not even open to this call. Let's go. Let's move on.
I don't think anybody wants to talk to me when I first wake up.
I'm okay. I'm working on it, David. Okay, I'm working on it.
I'm trying to help with the therapy. You know?
Thank you so much. All right, so sexual, on the other hand,
Totally useless.
Totally useless.
Totally not necessary to survive.
Yes, absolutely.
It's necessary to die, which is good.
Yeah. It is excess. Like, it is definitely only really surviving in the realms of the world that we have excess and are allowed to express some kind of sexuality preference and, priority. So I have hooking, peacocking, sexual display, attracted or repulsed, the self as a charged polarity, attempting to generate chemistry, and trying to get the other to receive or penetrate, validate experience of self/sexual persona. So not social persona. This is not based on social qualities and traits that can be collectively agreed upon, even not even agreed upon, but acknowledged. Now we're on the level of like, nope, it's just body acknowledgement. There
Does
are
it turn the other person on? That's the
yes,
that's the
yes. It's right. So it's the sexual persona is built off of that instead of the social qualities and traits. Like, even it's more like flirtation is more a social thing because now I'm dealing with like, okay, there's something like I am a flirtatious person. There is a social quality to that.
Right.
So anyway, and then the energy in that layer feels like something is being created. Like you were saying, Joseph, with kind of involving self-pres and social like play here, like something's being created with those two things. That's kind of the unknown element.
And sexual types will use the parallels like sexual, self-present, sexual, social, 2 and 4. So it'll be similar in the sense, but they'll use language that's sexual is because it's the duality, the neutral space. It's the beginning and the end. So they'll use language that's really kind of like severe in sense of like, I was talking to my social sexual friend and he was just talking about a guy that was really attracted to him, and he was just like, I'd let him choke me to death. I'd let him kill me. You know what I mean? I'd jump. I don't care if he shoots me in the head. Like it's just like I'm willing to risk all of my social and all of my self-pres in order to get to this, again, alpha omega place, whatever, of beginning and end, because I could die, but that means I've created something new, and that's okay.
Also, what you can say about 2 and 4 and those overlaps is 2 and 4, each in their own way, have a thing around themselves being special. You know what I mean? It really specific. Absolutely unique, and you're not going to find this anywhere. And it's kind of like the sexual instinct in terms of specific signature.
Yeah, when I think of sexual relation to self-pres and social, like self-pres and social have like either physical or three-dimensional qualities of matter. Like you're dealing with either positioning relative to other people, or you're dealing with grounding in a certain way. But sexual is completely wet and liquid, and you can't. The point is that you can't, like social and self-pres is things hardening into form, where you can define it and you can engage with it. But sexual is mercurial, liquid, something that goes too far and has to go too far in order to provoke that kind of polarity that can be attractive. And part of what makes something erotic is that you went over the line, like things spilled over.
Right.
And so that's what makes it really unstable and scary and also really hot is that risk element of the wetness.
What you were saying there
sexual.
about position and is I picture social air, it's three-dimensional space, self-pres is objects, me, everyone else, but then like with sexual, water and fire, water can seep under the fences, under the boundaries and walls, and fire can burn them down and so forth. So it's taking away the established boxes for things or something.
I think that's key when we see sexual doms exist and talk. Like they are doing that. They're talking as if there's always that water that's that flooding that's destroying. You know what I mean? Like all that, and it's oh fuck, I forgot.
Or it's a seeping underneath that is very slow and gradual, and before you know it, the person has entered your space.
It gets more difficult to define in a certain sense because we listen to a self-pres type and they're going to be like hunkered down, like how am I grounding myself, how am I self-regulating? And social is like they're trying to communicate something about people or about themselves, about their persona. And then sexual, it's like it's hard, like what is this person doing other than trying to generate some kind of chemical reaction, which you can't put that in a box. It's hard if you could define it, then it's not liquid anymore. And part of the allure of sexual is this person's doing something that I can't define, but is spilling themselves in some way that gets into me or is infecting me.
That's what I was going to say. Sorry, that's what I was going to say. That it's when you're saying self-present social is about positioning, making things solid, real, whatever. Sexual is not, because the thing that you're getting at does not exist yet. Like two forces have to come together, like you said, the chemistry. They have to come together like two random elements that create some fizz in a test tube. You know, we have no idea why that happens. It's just how it works, and they create a reaction. And so you're looking for, but those two elements in the test tube have literally ceased to exist. They've become something new, something blended, something with a reaction, something that's dangerous. And so we have to get there in order to do sexual, and we have to do sexual, but we are constantly, we have to risk self-present social. They literally have to be destroyed in order to create something that doesn't exist.
Right.
So
and I think,
go ahead.
I was going to say, too, even just putting this into the context of, like, I'm a social type, so I wake up and my nervous system now needs to be hooked up to something social, even if it's a thought. That is, like, sexual. Wakes up, needs to be hooked on to something sexual, and it needs to be some kind of, like, exciting stimuli, whether it is alone or with... or
figuratively.
Or with partners or something. Like, I need to be fed this thing, and that's why, like, you know, to not glorify what sexual types are doing, but, like, it is kind of like, you know, that doesn't exist in every space, and it's still, like, treating the, you know, self-pres life and the social life as, if you're not feeding me this thing, then, you know, why are we even here? Why is this even happening?
Like,
it's still a means to an end. And even sexual blinds are doing that in some way. It's just like, not at all what they wake up and immediately need to hook themselves up to.
It's like those.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Like the continuing the idealization would be like, I think of it at sexual, the high side of it would be, and this is abstract, but would be to be a fire artist, somebody that can do art with fire, right? And that's a strange concept, because you'd be, for one thing, you would be taking if you go through the metaphor, you'd be burning the canvas. You'd be destroying it as you're painting on it or something.
That's exactly what that is. Sexual has a creative element of it, because you're always, like Joseph said, always trying to create a new thing out of opposites or polarities. And so you kind of like, your existence has to be that I'm emanating this thing that's looking for another half. That's something that can be plugged into. So when I wake up, I'm trying to plug into something that has the potential to completely transform and create something new. And as soon as that's created, we destroy it and look for something else to plug into that's going to create something new. And that's what all reality is a sexual type.
I associated different metals with the instincts, social being gold, self-pres being lead or iron, and sexual is mercury. And mercury, I think there's only two metals that are also liquids. So mercury is a metal and a liquid, which is a bizarre concept in
and
itself.
It changes,
and it happens to be the thing they put in thermometers to for temperature,
measure heat.
Yeah.
It comes out with sexual blinds too. Well, it comes with everybody, but because sexual blinds are obviously doing sexual, but like people screaming and crying at a Justin Bieber concert, or people writing letters to serial killers and being like, "I want you," you know, like that. It's just like it's anytime someone's doing something that you're just like, why are you into this? Why are you courting disaster? Why are you hooked onto this? We're now in the sexual.
I also, as a sexual blind too, like for me, it's very compartmentalized. Like it's only that part of me can be expressed through relationships. Like I do not access that part of myself at any other time of the day or my life unless it's in a relationship. And I think a lot of sexual blinds will identify with sexual because they're in a relationship and they think that's what is happening, but don't recognize how compartmentalized that is to only see it in service of a romantic partnership.
What's like self-pres socials, the whole action movie to me is like a shadow. I don't know if shadow is the right word, but sort of release of the sexual
or horror
movies,
excitement, you know,
it's got the fire and the whole war movie thing, you know, penetration, fire,
sports,
blood, gashes,
spectator sports,
watching the ball in the hole,
watching like, you know, the Coliseum, watching people get ripped apart and standing there and feeling just all of that, like
and football players slap each other's asses sometimes.
And then fucking later in the change room.
Or like art, like, you know, musicians who aren't sexual types but make like incredible music, or people in like plays that they're this huge, like this beautiful thing on stage, and then they get off stage and just disown all of it. Like that. Yeah.
Like Jonathan Bailey, I was so like watching him. He's so charismatic, and then you see him, and you're like, this is a self-pres social Bermuda. In an interview, but you're like, why are you like shaking the ground when you're like on stage? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is Werner Herzog, and what did I call this? I name for self-pres social. One way it can show up is sort of like a farmer field report. They're going to tell you what happened and what they experienced, but this is kind of a humorous example of Werner Herzog talking about chickens.
Was he A54?
Yeah, he's A54.
Yeah.
The enormity of their flat brain, the enormity of their stupidity is just overwhelming. You have to do yourself a favor when you're out in the countryside and you see chicken. Try to look a chicken in the eye with great intensity. And the intensity of stupidity that is looking back at you
is so far-fetched.
It's just amazing. By the way, it's very easy to hypnotize a chicken.
And now 8.
They're very prone to hypnosis. And in 1 or 2 films, I've actually shown that.
So one way like self-pres social can show up is like almost like the documentary. Like we're gonna tell you, like we're gonna record like journalism, what actually happened, what actually took place, and what are the qualities of the environment and the objects that are there. So that tends to be what happens with self-pres socials. I mean, it's like the business stacking. It's everything that we do to build. You know, we talk about farmer, but farmer's a great representation of what self-pres social is trying to do. It's like childbirth. It's like how do you build something from the ground up.
Here's the other thing about farming is you definitely have to be doing a lot of cooperation with other people, right? So it's got that secondary social, and it's got, I mean, you're selling your stuff to whatever different merchants and middlemen or whatever. You've got your wife, kids, and family. There's other farmers around you. You know what I mean? It's very communal. And if you were to I don't know, an SPSX farmer would be like, well, it
They
wouldn't.
don't exist.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
What are you farming, drugs? I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
One thing I think about self-pres
Growing
social
crack.
that's interesting that we lost in like recent civilization is this kind of like being masters of the land, because the seasonal changes, for example, were so intense and harsh that you could die in the winter because it was too cold, or your crops got destroyed, you're dead again, or an animal kills you, or whatever. Like, so just understanding these kind of, like, I was just thinking about, you know, pieces of music like the Four Seasons, or like there's so much about like being one with the earth, like learning how to survive on this earth, and then also like learning how to enjoy it and beautify it and make it part of who you are. Like your body has literally connected to the seasons.
Well, and taking that same theme, like around the turn of the century, the 20th century, you know, everything changed as far as becoming, you know, the whole Western medicine thing.
Yeah.
People had all kinds of natural cures for things that actually worked.
Exactly.
And that whole thing of natural stuff being quackery, like that's part of the whole system. Here's my Illuminati conspiracy, but that's
Don't
part
need
of.
that right
I'm going to cut
Do
this
we
part
need
out.
to do? Yeah,
No,
go ahead.
This is important for people.
It's like nobody needs to hear that right
Yeah,
now.
No, but actually, it fits with what you're talking about. Like people actually knew what things to eat, what things to take, what herbs or stuff. You know that.
Sure.
Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
they had knowledge of how to use the Earth's resources, and protect themselves against the Earth's resources to simply to live, to continue to live. We don't really understand self-pres anymore because we're all
That's right.
like, we're not dying.
Abstracted
You know what I mean?
from it, yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
abstracted
yeah.
from it. We have meat at the store. We have vaccines. We have all these things and antibiotics that keep us alive for years and decades and whatever. You know what I mean? Women would just die in childbirth. I mean, whatever. Right? So we don't understand how precarious life actually is and how important it is. So now when people are doing self-pres, they're just like, I don't know, showing the smoothie that they're drinking on Instagram and like talking about a fall wardrobe or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
You know
not
what I mean? But
ultimately fulfilling.
it's not.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Right.
Yeah. And it's also like, you know, when you're identifying an instinct with the personality, which is kind of like what this is all about,
Right.
it becomes really neurotic. And so,
Yeah.
you know, every stacking's going to have their neuroses about it. But self-pres social, I think, too, is like really just because it's being self-contained and focused on energy, it's like what energizes me, what takes away from my energy, and like how do I build my life around that sphere. Like this is the sphere I live in, and so you have like the lifestyle kind of thing, like what is my lifestyle and how does that say something about me and my identity, because it's kind of compartmentalizing social.
Yeah.
And it's also like skills. I mean, in a positive kind of way, self-pres social types are fucking amazing at developing skills and like actually having that as, you know, I mean, they do have it as part of their identity, but it's also like developing something useful then like in society or their work or
One
whatever.
of the neurotic ways it shows up is you kind of hinted at it there, is the thing of the next object, the next thing I need to buy, the bigger TV, that whole thing. Whereas like SPSX is a bit more like I'm the source of some thing that's gonna be interesting,
Right.
and juicy, or
Yeah.
something.
This is self-pres social with that social second is like, how do I move out on this earth to, again, like move with the seasons, move with the people, flow together. Even and like developing skills, even something that's like, again, everybody has self-pres, but you see self-pres social people being like, I'm going camping. Even something like I'm going surfing. Just like, look at me. I literally ride on water. Water kills. Water gives life. Water's dangerous, but I'm just fucking riding on top of it, and that's like an enjoyable thing. I guess.
Remember the
that-
Tinder?
Yeah.
Remember the Tinder thing? What did we do? It's the travel and leisure. I love to
Oh,
travel.
yeah, travel
That's
fitness.
Yeah.
that moving,
Yeah.
moving across the world or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes people will interpret people who are risk takers and who like extreme sports as having some kind of sexual, but that is one way that self-pres social can show itself is I want to
Endurance
push the
in self-pres.
boundaries of what I can endure, and there's so many different ways that people can play with that of like I want to see how much my body can withstand.
That's right.
The skill of survival. So because we don't have to just like baseline survive anymore, but people are now just making a sport out of survival.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, self-pres sexual. Let me share.
Who did I pick for self-pres sexual?
I can't believe of all the people you could have picked for self-preservation. Like,
I gotta beat. Oh,
Wait,
Oh, Tom Waits. Oh, cool.
I'm excited. I like this one.
I think just watching him, even watching him without the sound on, it just he's a 7, but it doesn't look like he knows what to do with the people. It's
794, right?
Yes, 794.
That was a fantastic performance. Thank you very much for being here. We're thrilled. And
that was sexual. Like, let me feel your energy. It's filling me up.
I noticed during your performance you had this shovel out there, and you still have the shovel. What is the significance of the shovel, please?
Shovel, please. Well, all right. This started at home,
Shovel,
and
please.
my family thinks I'm a little imbalanced, but I want to get your opinion.
Get my opinion, okay.
You know, when they took a cheese sandwich and they said they found the image of the Virgin Mary on the cheese sandwich?
That's right. I remember that, yeah.
And they would sell it for like 23 grand or something.
Yeah, it sold for a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, this is kind of the same thing, only it's a shovel from my fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the image of the devil on it. And
Let's see. Let me pull that out there and see if we can. Let's put it up right here on the desk. Maybe that's the best way to get a shot of it.
You tell me.
Yeah, all right, let's see if we can see. Is that?
You tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the
Fuck
devil.
It's not a photograph.
No. That is the
But
devil, I think.
There is evidence that there's an evil entity in my fireplace.
Yeah.
It's some kind of a weird primitive email that I got.
Like, they flew him down here, and he had the
We
shovel
should
in his
sell
suitcase.
this while we're here. We'll get the bidding going at $10,000.
Conan, okay, we can pause it. Conan doesn't know what to do with this.
Alert the Vatican.
So I mean, not to say that every self-pressed sexual is a degenerate, but there's a certain kind of quality of going to the underbelly, or just your attention is always in the seedy underbelly.
I found
as
the
a
devil
baseline.
in this. He took a self-pressed social farmer object and was like, it's evil.
Yeah, and there's also like this quality again that sexual has, but in the middle it's not as serious, I guess, to the person, that they're just trying to provoke something as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to provoke some kind of energetic, like it might hit people, it might not, like it will probably not land for many people. They'll just like interact with it in a social way, but like for him being social blind, it's still just like his nervous system wants that kind of like, look at this thing, look what I can do, you know.
Think about it this way. It's like, if you say compare and contrast, like Herzog is talking about chickens out in the land, and chickens are something that grow and we can all relate to on some level. He's brought an object, and this object is imbued with some mysterious magic, and so the object is like an icon that's removed from the day-to-day sort of existence.
He's
So like
fetishized.
it's got this contra. We've been talking recently about how the contra stacking sort of have a removed icon relationship to the instinct, and so the self-pres is like, look at this thing that has the devil in it. That's self-pres sexual.
Yeah, and it's from his world and his magic or something, right? It's got his sexual signature, so to speak. And part of what makes self-pres sexual so horrible is that they're casual about that sexual instinct energy, and they don't care what it looks like in the in the reputation field or whatever, or what impressions are.
You know, seven
or whatever.
It's an interesting. It's interesting to actually do Herzog like 854 like negative asshole with something like self-press social, to see how that moving with the land farmer thing still shows up in such a horrible human being, but also to do self-press sexual with like a 7. I mean, he's 794, but I'm thinking even of somebody like Lady Gaga, who's just a DJ. Should be happy party girl, but every song is about how love is a disease that's killing her. Bad romance, disease, literally. I mean, I can't even, there's literally every song. Government hooker. It's all about how she is, the world is dirty, and it's love and sexuality.
And she's subverting it. too.
Right,
Like
she's it's all about subversion, but she's doing it in this fun party pop star way. Let's have some fun. This beat is sick. Like everything's just yeah. So it's really interesting because it's
like
kind of the opposite.
disease is interesting and has a charge to it. Inflammation, right?
Yeah.
There's flames. And
She should call her next album "Inflammation."
Inflammation.
Yeah, like think about pop stars like The Weeknd, who are huge,
Right.
but are popular because they're bringing up some dark underworld, nightlife vampire thing that people. It has like a dark allure that people are drawn to. Like we're all drawn to degenerate things like drugs and making mistakes, making bad decisions late at night. And so self-pres sexual sort of represents that sort of like, let's make an icon out of the underworld.
It's also a lot of, I think, forms of music have come from, at least partnerships where there was a self-pres sexual, and if you think of
Gothic
body
horror.
is self-pres and then secondary sexual, it's like the magic of the stacking can show up as infusing people with sexual energy in their body in a certain way.
That's good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it's like being social blind, it's demonizing the collective, and so all of this like energetic performance is purely for their own like it's entertainment almost, or their own self-fulfillment. Again, with self-preservation dominance, it's like I'm fulfilling something within myself. I guarantee a lot of self-pres sexuals don't even want to go and explain this to people, which is why they have to make it interesting to still like be hooked up to something self-fulfilling,
Well, and if the person is a popular artist who's self-pres sexual, the fact that the process is going into your own turn on, if you find the formula or the magic or whatever, it likely is going to turn other people on, and it's because you've perfected, because you have indulged in this singular focus.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Should move on.
I mean, that's my secret too.
Right.
David the pop star.
All right, I'll do social self-pres next.
Another 7.
I really appreciated this one.
Yeah, because we have stereotypes with social self-pres being dry and removed, and it's really interesting to look at it in such a crazy, wacky person, like, and to see that energy still there. So I said I call this the persona museum. Like all social self-pres are always, they're the ones that come up with archetypes or even types to begin with.
Yeah,
Right.
it's roles, it's social roles. Yeah,
Detached labels.
Well, and so if social is the personality instinct, self-pres is the structure of the personality. So it's still it's static personality, right? Like
And I
framing
think that's
personality.
why social dominant is like it's not just about role, like this contained thing. It's like I want to be important, I want to be interesting, but it's in a social lens, and that's through like I want my personality, the way I communicate, what I'm saying about myself to be interesting, and so I think that's why it kind of has it's not as structured and solid for every type.
And just to energetically, as we watch, just the energetic difference, noticing the social types versus the self-pres types, and how even just the eyes, how open they are, and how much they're inviting people to connect with them versus the self-pres types.
And the contrasting social sexual and social self-pres has with the self-pres is I have an agenda for myself. I'm building something. I'm building this personality and this public persona because I want to go somewhere with it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a crock star because I'm not a pop star, I'm not a rock star, but I am a crock star. Videos helped me growing up in my small hometown in Tennessee because I didn't have any friends. I dropped out of school in 8th grade because of bullying. The faculty of my school hated me because they were so backwards. And it was really my only outlet.
To the bitches that want to fight me, girl, look at this bitch. bitch. You want to fight me, girl? What is it, girl?
People would rather listen to me in a video than in person because in person I'm just really intense. Ordinarily, I'm used to people's reactions, reading them in the comments online. To sit amongst the people in a theater and hear their reactions when they don't even know I'm in there because I look so different, it's the wildest experience in the world. The main reason I just let them have my archives and everything to do the documentary, I told them, I said, as long as you tell my story accurately, you can have all the keys to the story. I'll unlock the keys, just tell it accurately. And they did. So it couldn't be better.
There's the thing about storytelling, framing the narrative of my archetype and my social role properly as with me as the author. If you want to author my story, you just have to make sure that you do it properly.
And fairy tales and stories and things also. It's like socials is communication, and it has the fairy tales, let's say, myths and so forth, have the resilience of self-pres backing up the story.
Yeah, this stacking is the one that's oriented to, you could say, icons of personhood or persona, which even can be rituals, things that we do that signify a certain kind of relationship or a certain kind of meaning, saying something about who I am. And so events like this where they're doing a documentary about his entire library of work is like, this is who I am. This is a big deal because you're telling my story and you're framing it. You're putting it in a museum and people can revere it and it can stand the test of time. So I see that social self-pres really are, they really care about building this formidable figure of personhood.
Well, and also, like, social self-pres to me kind of rules the whole realm of books and publishing books and so forth. And you think about all the biographies and that whole thing of that's, here's the case for why this person is so interesting, and books are written about this, will be written about this person forever, blah blah blah, that kind of.
If you go into a bookstore, and you're social self-pres and you want to find a book, you're good. The whole fantasy section is social self-pres. The whole political commentary, social, talking about human beings' behavior, it's social self-pres.
Harry Potter.
I mean, there's so much, the idea of my words and my ideas being committed to some kind of tablet, like the Ten Commandments, is super social self-pres. Yeah, my personality, my words, what I say, what I do, what I am, being solid, like a statue, like a written word in a frame.
Yeah, and I also think with self-pres middle, it's like a social type is a social self-pres type is constantly aware of positioning and just how they are being positioned. Am I fulfilling the social persona that I want and I identify myself as? And how can I position myself to do that? Which is why all social self-pres types can kind of express very differently, and self-pres is still kind of useless to them. So it's you see the unhinged social 7, just kind of not really regarding self-pres other than are they positioning me right? Are you getting me right? Is this making sense? Is it telling the right story I need? It's not using self-pres in the proper realm.
But here's how self-pres plays a role: is self-pres Earth. You have to orient the way you know where your position is that you've got this solid object, abstractly, figuratively speaking, that you're orienting from, right? What makes something up or down is an orientation to something, right? A thing, right? Even if the thing is an institution of ideas or something, or that kind of,
that thing, part of we've talked about social self-pres being the culture warrior, and the way I see that and just the way it shows up in people our age and younger is just an awareness of scenes or awareness of cultural slivers that people can relate to, or trends. People who actually pay attention to that or gatekeep and enforce this is what this means to this group of people.
Yeah.
That's a social self-pres energy. Like, and these scenes have aesthetics that people maintain over time.
It's not behavior. It's a thing that's solid. We labeled it. It's one thing now.
Labels.
Mm-hmm. And part of that is so that I can position myself either for or against that. Like, you know, I often, like, even growing up when I was in middle school, hated like every kind of group that was out there because I'm trying to position myself in a place that says something more specific and identified to me specifically that's not just this group. So it's like being aware of that as well, just for the sake of positioning.
It's very much the words stacking. You know, you got books, labels, all that kind of stuff.
All right, just to set this up real quick. Princess Diana is kind of an unexpected typing for social sexual because of the position that she held. And so it's interesting to sort of find the self-pres blindness of social sexual. And one of the ways it shows up is sharing too much, the sexual spilling through the lens of social is I want you to be charged by what I'm sharing and how I'm connecting with you. And so this interview was a huge deal back then because she was always not doing the containment of self-pres and always sharing too much personal stuff. Probably got her killed.
And the whole mockery of her energy is that she's so like vulnerable in her body. You know what I mean? Like she's like, she doesn't have the thing that you expect from the stiffness of the queen of the, you know what I mean? She's just kind of like, I'm kind of just like socially available, and it's like my head and the way I'm looking and all this is like when people mock her, you know what I mean? That's the whole thing about her.
Do you think you'll ever be queen?
No, I don't. No.
Why do you think that?
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts, in people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country. I don't think many people would want me to be queen. Actually, when I say many people, I mean the establishment that I'm married into, because they've decided that I'm a non-starter.
Why do you think they've decided that?
Because I do things differently, because I don't go by a rule book, because I lead from the heart, not the head. And albeit that's got me into trouble in my work, I understand that. But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it.
And do you think that because of the way you behave, that's precluded you effectively from becoming queen?
Yes, well, not precluded me, I wouldn't say that. I just don't think I have as many supporters in that environment than I did.
You mean within the royal household?
So
they see me as
that's probably good.
A threat of some kind.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a few things she said there, I want to be a queen of people's hearts, that's like self-pres blind as fuck. Like, wait,
transitory.
Like, I want to be in the sky and I want to be this multi-directional connecting piece versus, like, you know, sexual blind has an understanding of containment. Social self-pres like a role that I'm playing. And social sexual is kind of like I should be free to connect to everyone and inject this charge in my connections.
Also, her saying I lead with my heart, not my head. I mean, they could go in whatever many ways, but she's a 6, which is technically a head type. But it's almost like what she's saying is like my charge is leading me. You know what I mean? I've broken things that I wasn't supposed to break.
Right. Yeah, like, and self-pres blind, like, so you're waking up not even considering self-pres. Like, you don't see tools and resources that you're able to control and, you know, use, and, like, you're not seeing those as kind of, for yourself, as options to be contained.
That's
so
a good point,
you have to, like, leak out and do that, what she's doing, to get the nervous system to feel regulated.
Because she's not even owning the power that she has to get what she wants in this situation.
To that point, David, you said, you know, like social self-pres is trying to make something of the persona. Like, I want to get somewhere. And so if she was social self-pres, I'm like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, this position that I could have to be the queen. Like,
she would have
how do I
made it
build up to that point? She doesn't, social sexual isn't trying to build my persona into a formidable figure that people can respect and relate to. It's like, how do I connect in interesting ways that charge me up?
Yeah.
Social self-pres is political, or it can come out that way. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because it's contra, it's larger, it's in the sky. Political, like when you're talking about politics in a way, you're looking at a larger context. Social sexual, in essence, is all the sin flow stackings are not looking at a larger context. They are, again, they're still the whole sin flow. They're all farmers. You know, it's we worked the farm. Now we're partying. We're getting drunk. We're taking our clothes off. And then we have sex, and we're back on the farm.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Social sexual is the celebration after the harvest.
The celebration. Yeah. We worked hard. Let's get loose. Like, we're tired of working. What's going to happen? You know. So that's what's happening with social sexual in the social realm, is that you're just like, what can happen here right now that's exciting, that's going to juice me up. It's not wondering about the framing of what we're doing, which is very top down. This is like, I am on the ground right now and I'm looking around with my animal eyes kind of thing.
Where are the sparks?
Yeah, you want to take your clothes off a little bit. You want to get a little naked, and so that you can connect with people, and that's why social sexual can feel like this is like the close friend, the buddy, high school buddy.
That's right.
Exactly.
That you can get vulnerable with.
Yep.
And that's one thing that we may not have mentioned about sexual, is like there is like a undressing quality of, I want to show you what's underneath. I want to get naked and show you what's going on. And so with social sexual, it's like, how do
That's
I,
the only way to
maybe
do
we
it.
call it the nip slip, like just like, let me just reveal something about myself so that we can feel closer to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
And it's not considering grounding, like, because self-pres socials can be more vulnerable with each other and like that, but they're trying to ground essentially like the relationship, that we're actually, this is part of our building process, is being vulnerable with one another, whereas social sexual is like, they're not trying to ground it in anything, that it's just existing in the moment that it's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now we'll do sexual self-pres.
God, I can't even imagine who we're going to look at now.
Who did I
There's no sexual self-pres that's not psychotic, so let's see.
This is Lily Rose Depp.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, actually this isn't. This is
Yeah,
interesting
this is
because
pretty
it's not
tame.
psychotic.
This is
It's tame.
actually-
Yeah, that's why it's interesting.
It's
Yeah.
very tame. Yeah.
She's a 3. I called it, not bleeding succubus for all the sexual self-pres types, because,
Like
it's like
there's a demon on top of me, but also it's bleeding while it's inside me. I don't know.
It's like I want to get into something that turns me on and lose myself in it and pour myself into it and be poured into. So there's a way that I will just see where she's talking about, where it's like, I got into this thing, I was hooked by this thing, and I did something with it to transform, or did something creative, and I added this other thing. So there's always this sense of metamorphosis that I'm always trying to be hooked into.
A demon
And
bleeding.
to give social context, she's referring to the movie Nosferatu that she recently.
Oh, right.
Because I didn't even get that until halfway through the video. I'm like, wait, this is the cast.
Oh yeah,
of
context.
Nosferatu.
Context.
Yeah, context.
Yeah.
And if you watch that movie, it is exactly what you just said too, just in a theatrical telling.
And a demon on your shoulder bleeding means the demon is not in its full power and could be affected by you, and that's an aspect of sexual self-pres, is a mutual metamorphosis thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And even in that movie, I don't know if any of you saw it, but like, it is kind of that disturbing sort of quality. Like, you can tell first off how into the role that she's in, and also just like the ending. I'm pretty sure that it generated so much conversation because people were just like, "What?" Like, this is kind of disturbing, and trying to like throw social commentary on it and go in all directions.
Well, it's such a strange thing to be sexual self-pres, because in that farmer cycle, self-pres social is like, we did the work, we build our resources. Okay, now we did a long day's work, and we're tired. Let's party. Let's like get in that space where we're like starting. You're kind of on the hunt. There's something about socials, and people who are social sexual hunt and then don't do anything about it. They're just hunting all the time, right? Starting and never finishing. But sexual self-pres is like, this is the thing that's like private. You're supposed to be like, cat found my thing. Like, let's go over there, like in the bushes. No one's looking. But if you're sexual self-pres, you're just like doing that every day outside in front of everyone.
You could say that, like, well, the contras all are sort of doing the wrong thing to really get their instinct met. Like sexual self-pres is actually having sex.
Yes, they're doing it. Yeah, they found the thing, they did the
Yeah.
hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's whereas sexual social is the show, the mating dance and the flower, the dancing and so forth. And so to your point about farmers, well, sexual self-pres in the abstract is going to be demonized or whatever because it doesn't have a use. It's just the sex. And there's no.
But,
I mean, yeah. Go.
But also an icon that people can connect to in some way. Sexual self-pres is like that weird thing that you were supposed to do over there in the bushes.
Yeah.
Right? Like it makes sense, but it's yours.
That's
why
a
am I
good
looking
distinction between sexual self-pres and SPSX. Like SPSX is no, this is not a good thing. This is not a healthy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be doing whatever that is.
I think sexual self-pres can be triggering to people because on some level, most people being self-pres social can understand like this draw that we have to go and be consumed and consume. It's just that sexual self-pres takes it. My whole being is about.
That's your whole thing. Out there
because people have some awareness that as self-pres social or whatever that I do this sometime at night.
It's not the most important thing. It's just there.
Well,
so like to exist as a person who does it all the time is like whoa. You're supposed to do that on the weekend.
That's right.
When
in
you're drunk.
private.
It's reminding me of what Alexandra was saying on one of the old podcasts around what self-pres socials are doing with social. Well, sexual self-pres for self-pres DOMs, SPSOs, they're being casual with self-pres. It's like, and metamorphosis is like, it's super casual, but with the sexual there, it has, let's say, skill with chemistry and how to actually make metamorphosis. So it's more of a threat than social sexual, right? It really could change you, and you'd be a totally different piece of clay, and that's horrifying. Also, the other thing is SPSO, the sexual self-pres is the one that's behind you, right? It's the flow would be like self-pres social easily goes to social sexual. It doesn't want to go backwards in the flow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the private thing is important from the perspective of most people being self-pres social because both self-pres social and social sexual are public group cycles. Social sexual, there's the nip slip, but like it is okay. We go out in groups, we party. That is part of the sexual self-pres piece. Most people are doing that over there, or they hide it. It's their weird internet porn no one's looking at, or whatever. It's something over there. But if you are that stacking, and you're bringing it into a piece of art, there is this sense sometimes where you're like, why are they showing me this? This isn't for me.
That term, the walk of shame, that's coming out into the social daylight.
Yeah.
Right after the vampire night of
exactly.
Done the one night stand or whatever. Yeah.
We're not supposed to know that you did all that.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Like I mean, it's this again from the perspective of the other stackings. It just feels like, that was for you over there.
Social is so much about, how you're seen. What would other people think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And they're not paying attention to that.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Rob gave me this text to read early on when we were preparing, called
I hate her.
Payhor, but then you told me it's a French author, so it's Payhor, and so gonna say it right. But
oh my God, are you French? Tell us more.
That was very inspirational to me, and kind of like my Bible in a way. Like I read it initially, and then I would kind of, as we were shooting, like go back and read it more because it's I just would draw like new things from it every time, and it's a text about a young girl, very religious young girl, if I'm not mistaken, who has this kind of like sexual awakening love story with this demon that she calls upon herself, and that's one of the facets of this story that is so fascinating to me, is that it's not so simple as like this young woman who is like pursued or haunted by this monster that she like wants nothing to do with. Like there is a real yearning coming from her side as well. And somebody said to me, I was going to tell you this, somebody said to me in an interview the other day, well, isn't Ellen like this victim? Like why, you know what I mean? Like what is it like to play this kind of like victimized character? And I was like, well, I don't think she's a victim at all, because she's kind of calling the shots the entire time. And he, there's a power play there. He's like trying to overtake her in this way and destroy the lives of those around her. But she calls out to him, and she, makes the sacrifice that only she can make. She has a great deal of agency in this story that I feel like we haven't seen in iterations of the past. And I think also it's a there's a lot of themes of like female oppression in this movie. Of course, it's a part of the society that we're representing as well. Back in the day, it was things were nuts. Things are still nuts, but so I think part of that is the element of sexuality, like repressed female desire, and Ellen, you can see from the beginning, has that within her. She's she's got that.
That's enough.
That fire.
Yeah.
So
she's
she. I mean, sometimes it's tough to listen to sexual self-prejudice because you're looking for something dramatic, but that's what you end up finding is I was hooked by this thing and I let it change me, and I changed it, and I kept finding new edges to transform, and it's just continuing metamorphosis through everything. Yeah. And from its sin flow, so I don't think it seems as dramatic at times, or maybe that's just my own perspective, but
there's a backlash against people who are sexual blind seeing themselves as a victim of their own blind spot, and she's like, that's not what's happening.
Yes.
I am involved, I am an equal player, and yes, it's destructive, but that's what sexual is. That's I'm involved in it.
I think with like kind of like what I said with social self-pres, having self-pres middle, like sexual self-pres is paying attention to like sexual positioning of just like what kind of autonomy do I have, and what is the other person or the other thing provoking in me, what am I provoking in it. And that's why it's like it's totally in that realm and sphere, and it's not regarding the social thing, and that's why in video and stuff like that, you can see that happening in this weird like narrow field, and then applying that to like everyday sexual self-pres is like in relationship, totally different, because it's not considering social and it's not needing it for a social purpose. It's totally with the blinders on.
That's great. That's a great I guess the self-pres is I'm always aware to what degree what I'm feeding and what's feeding me. Like in terms of how the metamorphosis, it's like if I'm hooked on some idea or some person, even conceptually, like I'm tracking to what degree that, how is this thing juicing me up, and what is it costing me to do that? And and I even see like, especially in actors, like a lot of social blind actors can be like method actors. Like I think Joaquin Phoenix is he sexual self-pres? And in that video too, you can see Willem Dafoe, who you have as self-pres sexual, is like nodding, the only one nodding along. Right.
Like totally an understanding of like, yes, you were consumed by the thing.
Right.
Also, like the way she was just talking about all of that, it's feels sin flow. And in the sense of she's kind of wanting to, assuming that it would connect into other people, what she's talking about. You know what I mean? It's like, don't you feel this in your body that you want to do this or something?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Meryl Streep. This one is, she's a subtle example of sexual social.
164 is going to be pretty tight. Comparatively.
Yeah, right. But her energies, I call it drunken siren. That's one thing we noticed, just how loose sexual socials can be interpersonally. It's like this kind of someone who's emanating eroticism.
Yeah.
In a way, it was trying to be a separate icon of it.
Two-ish.
Yeah.
Too close.
And so
And social middle, so they're comfortable. They're not worried about what the priority isn't their reputation.
So it's more like her nonverbals here, because she's telling a story of how a film director didn't think she was pretty enough. But just one thing I want to point out about the sexual types is that is this orientation towards hooks, and not to say that every sexual type does this well. Some of them do it in a really annoying way, but it's like what I'm talking about has to hook your attention, and maybe they do that non-verbally. I need to find certain juicy hooks, and they could be talking about anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even in her talking about attractiveness, like she's kind of leaving it up to the social realm of like, oh, don't you find this kind of like interesting that I went through this, and like, but on an energetic level that like my attractiveness is saying it's part of the playing field, which I don't see a lot of sexual ones doing.
Well, in the I don't know, like the masochism, let's say, of a sexual type, talking about not being attractive, or you know what I mean, not being attractive for someone. There's a drama there that could be a hook or whatever.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is comforting. People, young actors out there, should take solace, because although the success was very fast and everything, not all the auditions went that brilliantly in the beginning. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
Like that right there. That thing she just did.
Well, maybe it did go brilliantly. The one with Dino De Laurentiis.
Oh, auditioning. Yes. Well, that was for King Kong.
Not for
the girl.
Yeah, for the girl. She's very good.
Now I can play the other one. Now I got that down. But that was Dino De Laurentiis Sr. And his son had seen me in a play. And so I went up to the top of the Gulf and Western building, like the 33rd floor, and he had this amazing office that looked all over Manhattan, and he was back there. And I walked in, and his son was sitting there, very excited that he'd brought in this new actress. And the father said to his son in Italian, because I understand Italian, he said, "Che brutta." You know, why do you bring me this ugly thing?
Whoa.
Yeah. Very sobering, you know, as a young girl. So I said to him, "Mi dispiace molto, you know, but I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry I'm not beautiful enough to be in King Kong."
There's this quality that she has that's fascinating for a core one, also with 6 and 4, that this drunken quality. I think it's, I don't know if when I first said that when watching her, I don't remember, but she just looks like she's literally juiced up by the words she's saying. Like she's like, "I walked in, and you know, he was there," and it's something. There's something contra about it, because it's not like social
solipsistic.
It is right.
The magic or something.
Yeah, exactly. You see social sexuals looking around, being like that 7-ish impish quality of like, what can I fuck around with here? She's just like, I am this like wet goddess that's spilling this story out onto you, but I don't even really care whether you're hearing it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's over-identifying with that type of performance too, which is why it's happening. That performance is happening all the time, regardless of if they're on the screen, regardless if it's in front of a person or not. Yeah, like this is how they're communicating with themselves and the outer world. Like it's on all the time.
Well, and if you look at the 2 and 4 overlap for the 2 sexual types, it's 2 is relationships and people, right? So it's so sexual, social. It's much more on and everywhere. Kind of
Yeah, energetically, I find like they have like an awareness of the composition of eroticism that they're emanating with, and it's like all the contrastacking are trying to like make a removed icon of the instinct, and so sexual social it wants to like that whole thing she did. Just it felt like she was on stage and she was like this goddess,
that's right.
Just emanating just a simple story about her looks, but it felt like something else. Like she was injecting some kind of erotic charge to it.
Yeah, and there's a quality to sexual social that part of the, I don't know, the composition or the completeness of the composition, one of the qualities of it is, we talked about it like with Bill Clinton's sexual social thing, where it's like they're on stage, but somehow they're talking just to you, and you're the only person in the room. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and they're trying to like, it's a flirtation because you do still have the social instincts, so there's like this element of flirtation going on all the time.
Yeah, one thing that struck me just watching her is like you can see the stern one-ish thing, but then she surprises you with just kind of how juiced up and spilling over,
messy a little bit,
that her energy will have. And that's kind of like, that's what pulls you in,
right?
Like the contrast, and that's part of like the sexual instinct thing, of the polarity, that sexual tension of she's giving you stern, and then all of a sudden she's just like this wet spilling thing.
It's like she could break, and which is like the one thing is not breaking ever, right? One just in isolation, and her being at that edge, and it's again that sort of flirtation with masochism of the sexual instinct of being destroyed and taken.
Right.
You know?
There's this is like maybe protyping, like this is like subtle, right? But there's a quality about the synflow stackings, all of them that we watch, that we are somehow invited and involved in, even sexual self-pres in the sexual self-pres is like, why aren't you doing that over there? But again, they're almost treating you like you are that object that I just pulled back into the forest, right? But with the contra stackings, you are the audience member to their icon that they're selling to you. Yeah, and it's subtle because it depends on the type, but that's, with her, it's just kind of like, she's doing all this spilling, but she's not trying to bring us into this, like when that other bitch, whatever her name is, the bitch I hate, Ruby, whatever the fuck. Sure, she's an attachment type, so she's talking about like in Bermuda, she's talking about like us, but there's still this way that, like you said, like aren't we all doing that end of the party thing? Aren't we? That's what I'm showing you, but you get it,
And the sexual social, on the feeling like you're the only person in the room with them, the special thing about that is that it's them. Like
it's
you're
correct.
getting the goddess is blessing you, or the king is blessing
like
you.
Like the angel Gabriel came down and chose you to be impregnated,
That's right. And that's like the blessing from royalty or something.
You're immortal. You become something. Mary changes into something special, but only because the angel came down and chose her.
Right.
And so it stays in that performance space because the sexual self-pres is at least wanting to consummate, or and what happens after consummation, which is metamorphosis, whereas sexual social is like, I'm staying in that performative sexual icon space, and I'm not as prioritizing the self-pres of when do we consummate this, when does this come down to earth and become a new thing. They're doing it in the sky. They're doing a new form in the sky and stayed up there.
Right. If we do, I don't know, like I guess the whole kind of Jesus Messiah story, the whole thing kind of works in this contra space because we're talking about these biblical the whole contra cycle is kind of like in the, but it's kind of like God came down and now you have the Messiah inside you. You were almost not even a part of it. We didn't have sex. Some kind of magical sexual change creation happened, and you're the catalyst for it because I chose you, not because sexual self-pres is like it's getting into the nitty-gritty of what we just fucking did. It's grosser. It's like it's
co-creative.
That's right. Co-creative.
One of the images with sexual social that comes up, symbols, is crystals, and so a crystal, like sexual self-pres is wet and morphing and hasn't formed yet, and it will with that other energy, with that other partner, the opposite or something. But sexual social is like a holographic crystal, that's perfectly composed and attractive, and it's glinting light and so forth. It's sort of hovering in the air, and the beauty of that is sort of a representation of love, attraction, and beauty, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
People are probably tired of hearing us talk about wet juice and shit. In every video, somebody will just be like, wet. One of us will start spewing wet, juicy,
oozing.
Like if I were watching this, be like, oh, they're doing the wet thing again. I don't want to hear about fluids.
If we don't talk about wet fluids when we're talking about instincts, are we even talking about
I know.
sexual? That's the thing I want to say to people. Is like you are having instinctual reactions, even in this call, because there are 4 of these stackings here.
Yeah.
Sexual self-pres is here, social sexual is here. So if you're not having instinctual responses to what's happening, are you even alive?
Yeah. When I first did those instinct cards, and I would lay them out for people to sort of do as a test, so to speak, for their stacking, and people would just be, some people were just mortified, by the cards that had sexual in them, and I said, oh, good, there we go. I'm getting something right here.
Good.
There we go. Self-pres sexual right there.
I'm so glad that we're
self-pres take you to hell.
Yeah, you're an object I'm taking to hell.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's so self-pres sexual. You're like, I need this card.
Yeah, right.
This card needs to make you uncomfortable, and this card is an icon and a representation of what I did to you.
Just like Tom Waits' fireplace.
Yeah,
exactly what it is. Let me show you a card, and tell me how you feel about these mysterious figures in the card.
I'm not going to change it all. I'm going to be changing you.
Yeah. You're not even in it. It's just the card.
Yeah,
it's just the card.
Yeah,
it was just a card.
He's got a shrine with the card at the top.
But the card is. I think the card's more interesting than the shovel. Yeah. Imagine you just had a shovel instead.
Well,
that could work.
Just people come over. You're like, you pull out the shovel.
Yeah. No, but 6 different shovels is what I would design.
Yeah, you need 6 different.
Do you see Jesus?
Your shovel
sexual social stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Do you see breasts?
All right.
Interesting.
Do you want to throw this shovel up in the air? Then you're social sexual.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm over this.
Right.
Solved all the problems.
All right.
Yep, that's it. Those are the instinct stackings.
All right.
Thanks
people
for
found
coming.
that useful.
This was very educational and